Hi everyone, and welcome to Screams After Midnight. This is the horror movie podcast from the Mailed Fuzz Podcast Network. If you're on YouTube watching this, you'll notice we're on a slightly different channel. We're on the movie channel from Mailed Fuzz, 1.21 gigawatts, because this is, of course, movie related. Yes, we agree, it's movie related. Okay, good.
Yeah,
I'm glad we're on the
I'd
same
say
page.
so.
If you're listening to this, then nothing has changed, and you don't give a shit about anything I just said. You're just here to hear about horror movies. And that's what we talk about here, horror movies. Joseph, who's normally here, is not here. But I do have Tim, as always.
Yes, thank you.
And Kevin's here.
Glad to be here.
And of course I'm Peter Bradley. And basically last week we talked about Evil Dead 1 and 2. This week we're going to talk about Evil Dead 3 Army of Darkness and the Evil Dead reboot from 2013. So that's the plan today. Before we get going though, I'm just going to tease you slightly by something that's coming up soon on the channel, and some of the content related to this will be of your horror movie interests. Starting in mid-December, Mailed Fuzz movie commentary tracks are going to be a thing. We've already recorded a couple of them actually, so get excited. They're on their way. Some of them will be horror movies, some of them will just be bad movies. Sorry Kevin, we're going to rip the piss out of every M. Night Shyamalan film post The Happening.
Well, you'd be doing yourself a great disservice.
Oh well. Good. But yeah, let's get into the reviews for this show then. Tim's excited because this is like Tim's favourite series.
Ha cha cha.
Is that right? Is this your favourite like horror series?
I would say so. Yeah, actually, yeah, more than Nightmare, Friday, Hellraiser, Halloween. Yeah, Evil Dead is my number one.
Interesting. Yeah, so Army of Darkness, Evil Dead 3 came out in 1993. Of course, directed once again by Sam Raimi. And this was a bit of a change. Oh, and full spoilers, by the way, as always, for the movies we're talking about. Because you know someone's going to get angry if I don't say that. And then it's like, oh, you spoiled a movie from 1993 without warning me. I'm sorry. I was 4 when this came out. Anyway. So this one's where, first of all, Ash becomes Ash, as we kind of know him. Where he becomes a wisecracking hero who... Like, he's a bit of a doofus who thinks he's better than he is, but he somehow manages to still save the day and impress the girls and all that jazz. Now, we had the comedy in 2, but I feel like in 3 it's even more profound. It's even more, like, integrated into everything, and it's...
Oh, they drove full head-on into Wacky Town with this one.
And it's kind of like... Watching Ash versus the Evil Dead, which is on now, and still fantastic, by the way. 3 episodes in. I encourage you all to go watch it.
So good.
You can tell that this is the Ash that's kind of came forward and is in that show, except now he's in present day setting. And of course, this one is very different from the first 2 in that it's set in medieval times around the castle and stuff. First things first. The opening to the movie, presumably because they didn't have the rights to the past 2, yet again, had a third actress playing his girlfriend Linda, and had to redo a couple of things. And then when he does get sent to the past, it doesn't actually match the scene at the end of the second film when he arrives in the past, because there's no Sam Raimi in a knight armour for starters, and they also immediately put him in shackles.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm pretty sure at the end of Evil Dead 2, they're all sort of like chanting for him, like, "Yes, here's a savior, yay!"
And I think it like start with him kind of like falling there, and at first they're kind of all suspicious of him, but then he kills a deadite, and then they start like chanting for him.
Yeah. Which is essentially what happens in this. It's just more drawn out, and it doesn't happen in that location.
Yeah.
But yeah, Evil Dead 3,
Great.
Army of Darkness. Kevin.
Yes. I had a lot of fun with this one. Usually I don't really like ridiculously over the top things, but I was on board with this. This was great comedy. They took the train to the pun town. There was a ton of puns in it, so I was happy with that.
Of course, you were happy with all the puns.
I mean, I hadn't seen it before, so this was new to me. But I really love the character of Ash. I think he really completed this film.
Oh yeah, this is nothing without him. This is the Ash show at this point.
Yeah.
Also, I thought that Henry, uh, the blonde guy at the start, I thought Henry looked like Peter a bit, because he was Scottish.
Well, huh,
But
it's funny
Peter.
you say that because I actually wasn't sure if he was Scottish because his accent was appalling. Like the occasional sentence sounded kind of Scottish, but most of the time he just had an English accent. It was appalling.
Yeah.
Um, 'Cause
I
even,
found his accent to be revelation. I couldn't get enough of it.
did you know he was Scottish?
Without a doubt, yes.
No, you didn't. You had no idea. You had no idea because even I wasn't sure. I was like, I think he's supposed to be Scottish. I'm not really sure.
Do we know exactly where this takes place? Like we know it's the past, but
You would assume it's like England or somewhere.
Yeah,
They
they've
all
all
have
got
British
English accents, so it's.
so that means like the book can transport you not just through time but also space.
That's the least impressive of the two, Tim. To be fair.
Well, I'm saying it.
Although
I think that's
technically, Tim,
interesting.
technically, the Earth is moving, right? And it's spinning.
Oh, okay.
So technically, it might not have moved them in space, but where the Earth was spun at that point in time, like however many hundreds of years ago, is where it dropped them.
That's your science lesson, kids.
Yeah,
That's
that's why.
pretty interesting.
That's why stuff like Back to the Future actually kind of falls apart because technically, with the Earth spinning, when Marty goes back in time, he should just be in space and die instantly because the Earth will be in a different place.
And be a
Oh, that's
technical
that's
film.
crazy. I never even thought about that.
Yeah.
Oh well, that takes the fun out of everything. um,
Martin McFly dies. There's no any Back to the Futures. Just everyone dies.
I'm sorry, but no, we can explain it away. It's just the DeLorean's time travel is like tied to the Earth's core, so it's always that same distance from the core of the Earth. There we go. I fixed it.
there you go.
Everything's
Nice.
everything's fixed. But yeah, it's like yeah. And the fact is that they're basically fighting with each other, like the Henry's clan and the English
Yeah.
people in the castle. And if they are meant to be Scottish, which is very like you can't tell.
I could tell.
No, you can.
I could.
That basically means it's like Braveheart times, and Ash by the end of the movie solves the English Scotland like dispute. All right then.
But yeah, no.
Um,
I know another thing is I love like I said I usually don't like over the top things like really over the top things but I love the action in this. I loved
I
I
like the
loved
actions.
yeah I loved there's a part I think it's towards the end whenever the spoilers by the way where whenever the skeletons and everything or whenever the deadites are invading the castle and whenever he just I think he sets the guy on fire like he kicks him over the wall and he comes back and he's a skeleton. Oh, I love that
Yeah.
part. And then the one-liners as well.
Oh, the one-liners are great. Even
I-
this right at the start when he's talking to Henry, he's like, "You're in control of Jack's ship, pal, and
Yeah.
Jack's on vacation."
Yeah. I don't think I mentioned it last week, but I think I told you this before, Peter. The kind of a weird roundabout way how I got into the series was when I was a kid. I really liked Duke Nukem, and in that video game, the main character uses like a lot of like cool badass one-liners, like be like, "Oh, like hail to the king, baby," and like, "Oh, I'm here to kick ass and chew bubble gum," blah blah, and all that shit.
It's all movie
Uh,
quotes, basically.
Yeah, but like obviously, like I was a kid, I was playing it like 10 years old or whatever. I just thought it was the coolest, most badass thing, and my brother like told me like, "Oh, well, those are all lines that they stole from movies like Evil Dead and They Live and stuff." And I was like, "Oh, really?" And then that's actually what got me pumped to be like, "Well, I gotta watch these movies then." And then like yeah, like I think I started with Evil Dead 2, which I loved, but then yeah, like didn't really have as much as the one-liners and. Was a little bit more of a horror movie, but then watching this, I got like that awesome, full-on, like badass, one-liner Ash that I guess, as a young teenage boy, was like my idol.
Yeah, no, I Ash is fun in this. That's a lot of fun. I actually constantly go back and forth between which one's my favourite of the original three, like this or two.
Yeah.
Because this one I find to be a lot more just a good ride. Like, interestingly, I'm curious, Kevin, which cut did you watch?
I think I watched the original theatrical one.
Yeah, that's the one I actually prefer. Which I think some fans would probably really disagree with me for that. Um, but
Is it just the major difference, the endings?
no, there's some extra little bits here or there added
Okay.
in the director's cut. But the problem I have with the director's cut is actually the pacing feels a bit off. Because even though it's still only like 95 minutes compared to the 80 minutes that the actual cut is, it still feels like it starts to drag in the director's cut, I feel. Whereas the theatrical cut, I think, is paced perfectly.
Yeah.
Goes through at a nice speed, stuff's happening, and
It's hard for me to tell because I've watched so many different versions. I feel like of this movie, like over the time, I forget like really the big differences.
also the phrase that the wise man tells Ash to say when he's picking up the book, Klaatu Verada Nikto, is actually the same phrase that's used in the original Day the Earth Stood Still.
Oh,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because whenever I like watched this for the first time and he said it, I'm like, I know that from somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's from that movie.
I remember I knew I recognized it from somewhere, but I thought it was from like one of the previous films or something. But
I should say Klaatu Verada.
yeah,
you say
sure.
all the
Maybe I
words?
didn't say every tiny little syllable, but
I basically said it.
what I love about like just this character is like he could almost come off as like jerky, but I just think just the fact that he's like so cocky and like doesn't always have things like work out in his favor. I just think that really like endears him to you. Like I don't know, it wouldn't be as entertaining if he was just like going around saying these jerky things and then going like killing people, beating them up, and not even like getting hurt or stuff. But just the fact that he's like always getting like pummeled, or if he gets to say something and then like gets attacked or whatever, it's very entertaining.
Yeah, no, I agree with all of that. It's one of the standout moments for me when it sort of comes together early on is it obviously gets thrown in the pit. The wise man throws the chainsaw down and all that stuff, and he gets out.
Yeah.
It's when he gets his shotgun and he gives the speech, which is basically the sales pitch for like
Yeah.
the S Smart, and he ends it with shop smart people, shop S Smart, which is one of the disappointing things about Ash vs Evil Dead is that they don't have the
Yeah.
rights to the third one, so they can't reference S Smart, which is really annoying.
Yeah, it really stinks.
But hey, whatevs. Nah, it's a lot of fun, and you might notice actually if anyone went to see Oz the Great and the Powerful, which Sam Raimi directed a couple of years ago, you might notice it's the exact same plot as this movie.
Oh, really? I haven't seen it
Seriously,
yet. So.
Kevin, have you seen it? Have you seen Oz
Yeah.
the Great and the Powerful?
I went to see it in cinema.
Let me describe the plot of this movie and see if it sounds like Oz the Great and the Powerful, right? Actually, no, I'll describe Oz the Great and the Powerful and tell me if it sounds like this movie. A man goes to a mystical time, right? He is seen as some sort of weird prophet by all the simpletons in this time. They send him out into the wilderness or whatever to find something. He comes back and turns them all into an army to defend the location with, in that case, magic. In the case of Ash, chemistry and bombs and shit. But, just tricks from his time period. And then he wins and gets sent back to his time.
Yeah, that's pretty similar.
It's the exact same.
Yeah.
It's the exact same plot. It's kind of amazing. Like I remember just watching Oz the Great and the Powerful in the theater and just being like, "What the fuck?" It's Ash versus. This is Army of Darkness, but there's no charm or I don't care about it. Like there's no fun.
Oh god! When I was watching Oz and the Great and Powerful, the only thing I was thinking, and why did I waste my money? And is there a gun nearby so I can shoot myself?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, that was not a good movie. That was not a good movie.
Awful.
But Army of Darkness is a good movie. It's a great movie, even.
Yeah. It's like, why does he have those books on chemistry? In his
He has
trunk?
he has so much good stuff in the trunk of his car that are so useful in this. Chemistry textbooks and shotgun shells and all
Also,
that
it's
stuff.
like must be like super easy just to make a robotic hand. Like,
Yeah.
like how is he controlling that?
I don't know.
There's
He-
such like a I love. There's just such like a great like charm about this movie. Like going back and like watching it, like I think it had been like a little while since I had seen it, so I knew I'll always love the series, but I was worried like, is it gonna be a little dated, since it's been a while? But I don't know, there is just like a really cool, like nostalgic '90s vibe to it. Like I love all of the like creature effects, and like even when like some of the stuff looked kind of cheesy, like
Yeah.
the like little ashes running around and stuff. I don't know. I still find it so like wonderfully '90s and nostalgic.
Hmm.
Mm.
No, I pretty much agree with that. No, Ash, Army of Darkness. I keep nearly saying Ash versus Evil Dead because there's not another V's thing, but Army of Darkness is because the movie opens with Bruce Campbell versus the Army of Darkness. That's what it says.
Yeah.
Uh, but hey ho. Not Ash versus the Army of Darkness. It's Bruce Campbell versus the Army of Darkness.
They didn't have the rights to Ash, so
Yeah, he's just Bruce Campbell now. No, Army of Darkness, a lot of fun. Also, do you know what else kind of stole the plot from it? Did you ever see Black Knight starring Martin Lawrence?
I don't know if I've seen the whole thing. I know I've seen bits and pieces.
Yeah, that's very similar, in fact, in a lot of ways. Now that
It
I'm
is
thinking about it.
actually like a pretty bad like recipe for, or I guess a good recipe for a shitty movie. Just like a modern dude like traveling back to like King Arthur times or whatever. But I don't know, for whatever reason it works in this.
Yeah, it's because Ash is such a caricature,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
It just works. It's like so much fun as long as you don't take it too seriously. And they didn't when they were making it. It has the right amount of brevity that you just sort of go along with it and you have fun. As you
Yeah.
say, we'll save ratings for the end, but let's talk now about the 2013 reboot, just simply titled Evil Dead. No, this time just Evil Dead. Directed by Fede Alvarez. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that remotely right, but he directed this. This one, I remember when they announced there was going to be a remake of Evil Dead, and I don't know if I'd call it a remake. Now that I've seen it, like, after it came out, I would say it's more of a reboot,
Yeah.
and I'll explain why I think that in a minute. But I actually ended up loving this movie. This ended up being a solid good time.
Yeah, I was very surprised. Like I said, it's my favorite series, so I hold it very near and dear to my chest. But I was actually, I'd say more than not just like pleasantly, oh, this was good. Like, yeah, like, oh wow, I legitimately really like this movie.
So much, in fact, that I don't even think it's like the weakest one in the series. I'd actually rank this higher than perhaps at least one of the other ones.
Uh, I mean, catch me on the right day, I might agree with you. Maybe depending on my mood, it's
Yeah.
hard to say, but it's not gonna get near 2 or 3 for me. But yeah, depending on my mood, I might want to pop this in other
Now,
than the first one.
for those of you who are not watching the video version, Kevin is making some seriously worried faces at some of our comments, which is making me think that he doesn't like this film all that much. So, Kevin,
No.
why don't you jump in here with your thoughts?
This, I don't know. I mean, maybe it was just because of the fact I watched it after Army of Darkness, like directly afterwards. But this was just sort of how to make dark and gritty and real horror film, like 101. Like they tried way too hard, I think, to be dark and gritty. And I think,
I don't get that at all from this.
yes, they did. They put in like swear words wherever they could. They put in an obscene amount of blood and gore. Like it's not that I have a problem with that.
Wait
in
a minute. Evil Dead 2 literally had a wall that just erupted blood at Ash.
Now, this is gonna sound really weird, but that's fake looking blood. This is real looking blood. There- There's a difference. That's trying to. I felt that was definitely trying to be more camp. This is trying to be more. Look at how
Well,
we can be. Look at
Well,
how
no, well, no, see,
cool we
this
can
is the
be.
thing. I think you're going down the wrong road here with your thoughts on this one. Now, this one isn't camp. I will say that it's not trying to be camp, but This gets so over the top with the gore
Yeah.
and the violence towards in the last half of the movie. I don't think it's trying to be like a because the first Evil Dead is more of a suspense movie and sort of like shocks and stuff, whereas this is like a gore fest. This is a splatter movie almost.
But it wasn't any fun.
It was fun. I had
Well-
tons of fun. I've seen this like 4 times now. I love this movie.
Well, what I would say is I mean, like the first Evil Dead movies, I don't think they were really going for camp. Like maybe Army of Darkness, but like the first and second one, I think looking back on it now, it is a little campy and cheesy maybe to our standards, but I think at the time they weren't
I
necessarily
don't know,
going
Tim.
for that.
Like the headless girlfriend with the
Yeah.
chainsaw.
Well, in the second, I don't know. I don't think they were like obviously they weren't trying to be like the biggest horror movie or whatever, but like I don't think they were also being like, hey, let's make a cheesy, ridiculous movie at the same time. But I don't think I think what they were trying to do basically with this one is like let's do our version of the series, but let's have it be like full out horror and kind of take away like the comedy bits.
Yeah,
and stuff.
the comedy's definitely gone. But here's why I really like this movie. First of all, I love that they didn't, and this is why I wouldn't consider it a remake. And also, Ash's car's sitting there near the cabin, which implies that things have happened. Yeah, that's right, Kevin. Ash's car is sitting in the movie.
I didn't notice it.
Also, did you wait till the end of the credits?
No, I turned it off as soon as possible.
Because Bruce Campbell's at the end of the credits.
Oh,
See, you've upset yourself now. It's like 3 seconds long, but it was worth it. I sat in that theatre and I waited because I knew there was something at the end, and I cheered.
I was really happy. I wasn't even sure there was gonna be anything, but I was like, at that point, like, you know, kind of used to it from the Marvel movies. If it's kind of like a nerdy, geeky franchise movie, it's like let's stay till the end just to see. And the whole theater like cheered.
Yeah. So, no, here's why I like it. They didn't try and do Ash again and have a different actor be Ash. They gave us a new set of characters. And Jane Levi, who's the main girl, who I really like, I think she does a great job. And what I like about it is that she's essentially the one who becomes the Deadite first. And in the first movie, that's like there's no return from that. But in this, it twists it, and she actually does become human again, and she actually ends up becoming the hero of the movie. I really like that. I like how it flipped on its head. I like that it adds more to the mythology, because Evil Dead before was kind of a random movie in the sense that there wasn't really any rules or rhyme or reason for anything that was going on. You know, weird shit just starts happening, like a hand can be possessed for no reason, or and I'm not complaining, like that's just the way the movies are, but you know, that's the way it was. You know, and in the third one, there's lots of little ashes come out of the mirrors, like pieces and stuff. Like, it just really random shit happens. Whereas with this one, it gives you more of an established set of rules, and it gives you this idea that the Deadites are there until they all die, so that this demon can come up and like come back to Earth. And I really like that. I thought, that's adding like an extra layer to the mythology.
Actually, like gives it a purpose instead of just. Yeah, because like in the other one, it's kind of like, well, why is this here? What does it do exactly?
And I actually really liked the demon as well. I thought she was creepy as fuck. I say she, but there was no like dirty parts,
Yeah.
Which I thought made it really creepy and really like bizarre and unreal. And then the raining blood was cool. And then of course I mentioned the violence. I loved the violence in this. The nail gun, that poor guy with the long hair, he went through so much in this movie. You know, his head going off the sink, the stuff in the eye.
I had to turn my head away like at some parts of this movie. The whatever what you call that, like knife thing that you kind of like a box cutter or whatever. When she licks that, like, ugh.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say that. I had to look away.
Also, I think Jane Levi had so much fun doing this because, like, see the line where she grabs, like, I think her brother's girlfriend, and she like pulls her close in, like when she's like under the door, and she's like, "Kiss me, you filthy cunt." I think is the line of dialogue she has, which is I think that's right after she puts the razor blade between her in her tongue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, I'm just having fun with this. So they're going balls to the walls with this. And at the same time, I don't think they were taking it too. I mean, they were taking it seriously, but not too seriously.
Yeah.
Like it was too wacky in its violence to really have them, you know. And yeah, I mean that's not to say that. I mean, there's some nice callbacks to the original. They tease the chainsaw really early on,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you know it's coming. And she even loses her hand,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is very Evil Deadish. And I really like that entire last act. I think it's a lot of fun. When she finally gets the chainsaw, and I can't remember a one-liner that she says before she does it.
It's like choke on this or eat this.
Yeah,
or
something like that. But then she like
Motherfucker.
splits her in half with the
Yeah.
chainsaw, and it's like, yes, this is beautiful.
You just see like her head's like bobbing up and down. It's just like sprays and sprays of blood.
I love it. I have no idea why Kevin's got a problem with this. I had so much fun with this movie.
I mean, it's.
I seen it twice in theaters. That's how much I get into this.
Yeah. I mean, it's exactly like you said. Like they, I don't think I would have liked it if they just tried doing like a new version of Ash and they have like some young kid play him and stuff, and they just like redid the characters and just kind of redid the story. Like that would have been the wrong way to go about that. But like if you are gonna do a remake or a reboot, I think this is like how it should be done. Like
Yeah, it's like you take what the basic concept is and you do your own take on it.
And like I feel like I don't know, like maybe it's like I feel like Evil Dead was something that was kind of known for like being really gory and stuff. So I feel like they're kind of just taking that like part of it and just ramping it up to fucking 11 and like really going like hog out on it. And it's really fucking cool. And I even like how I thought there's like a lot of like cool, interesting shots, like that kind of like opening establishing shot where it's kind of like upside down.
Oh yeah, when they're driving and it's like
yeah,
and it sort of flips as it goes.
I thought there's like a lot of cool stuff like that, and just like and it was a pretty cool like interesting story. Like it actually gave them a reason to be in the cabin and to kind of question her at first when she starts acting weird. It didn't kind of quickly fall into like horror cliches where it's like, oh, like why didn't they just leave at this point? It's like, oh no, like there's a reason why they came out here, and
there's even a reason for her to be acting weird, 'cause
exactly, yeah.
So, no, I really really get into this. Like a lot of fun, a lot of gore, a lot of blood, and it even leaves it open enough where I do want a sequel. I want to see what Jane Levi's character is going to get up to next. I want her to become like the badass, like bitch version of Ash.
Yeah, I was like actually really hoping that they would do another one. I think it'd be interesting.
They still could, and they've let. I mean, I think it's open enough that this could easily be set in the continuity with everything else. Yeah. Like I would love if Jane Levi's character showed up in Ash vs. Evil Dead at some point.
That would be cool.
And they could joke about both having like one hand.
Like go off try to handshake each other and we only have one hand. I know, but I guess you could say that Jane Levi's character was very badass.
On that note,
actually, just real quick though, that does remind me like another scene that really like fucking got me was when her hand's trapped under the car and she's pulling it out. That's like I don't know if I've ever seen like another movie that just like is right up close, like showing like skin and tissue and sinew like ripping apart like that.
Like I said, I think that whole last act, that whole last 10 minutes, like see when she's like hiding in the little shed, and she finally like grabs the chainsaw. I was just like, I remember like not audibly doing it, but just inside like cheering. It's like chainsaw time. And it's like it's all building to the right moments. And another thing that sort of calls back to the original movies is the fact that he buries her.
Yeah,
that's very Evil Dead, and except now he's like a med student though, so he pulls out his makeshift defibrillator, which So it's also bullshit. Nail guns that actually fire across the room. There's actually
Yeah.
there's a safety thing on them that stops them from firing unless it's pressed down against something. So the idea that you can fire a nail gun across the room is ridiculous.
That was
But it's fine.
another yeah. That's another cool thing. Like you mentioned, like teasing the chainsaw and stuff early on, but I also liked that they were like teasing other stuff too. Like there's a scene early on of him like doing like real up close with the nail gun nailing stuff, and you kind of like, okay, that's probably gonna come into play later.
Yeah.
The what was the other thing, that turkey carver? Um, ugh, yeah, a lot of good use of different weapons or
So
tools as weapons.
I would go as far to say this is probably my favorite modern like reboot or whatever.
I would say,
At least of a horror series. I mean, if you start
yeah,
branching it out, it's hard because then it's like Batman Begins technically is one, and it's like, well, okay, then
the two examples I can think of that like really stand out for me would be this and Rise of the Planet of the Apes. But
yeah. Well,
uh,
again, like that's why I specified horror
yeah,
because I think you get into that territory. I mean, I'd say the best horror remake of all time, but then of course, if you go back far enough, you do find The Thing, which is a
Yeah.
remake, and then it's like,
yeah.
well, it's not better than The Thing. I'm not like saying that. But no, I think it's solid fun. I think it's pretty damn great. So
It might be like I can't even think of maybe any other like remakes or reboots that I like that much. Like the Friday the 13th one was okay, but
yeah, it's
didn't like.
fine.
But like Nightmare, Halloween obviously is awful.
Yeah, I mean, Black Christmas I didn't see, but it looked terrible.
Oh yeah,
Dawn of the Dead was okay, but there was nothing on the original.
yeah, uh, yeah.
Diet of the
As
Dead. Diet of the Dead was okay, but like, not many people like that.
What was okay?
Diary of the Dead.
That wasn't a
Oh.
reboot.
No, I know, but it's sort of part of that whole modern second series type thing.
Kevin,
Yes.
shut up. All right. Yeah. With all that said, let's get into the ratings then. And I think last week we did Severed Hands. I can't remember if we did or not.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, sounds about right, doesn't it? Uh,
Boomsticks.
yeah, Boomsticks. There you go. Perfect.
Yeah.
Let's do Boomsticks out of 10. Kevin for both movies.
For Army of Darkness, I'll give it an 8.5 out of 10. And for remake, or reboot, I'll give it 4.5 out of 10. Maybe 5. 5. I'm feeling
Wow.
generous.
This is madness, Kevin. What the fuck? You're the guy who liked Paranormal Activity 4. You piece of shit.
What can I say? I have good taste.
No, you have awful taste. You have
It
awful
wouldn't-
taste.
It wouldn't be Screams After Midnight if we didn't have at least one person that disagreed.
Yeah, who's like just insane and thinks the opposite of everyone else. Timmy.
Jeez, I gotta give Army of Darkness. I think I'll give that a 9. I really love it, but like I said last week, like Evil Dead 2 is like probably my favorite movie of all time, and Army of Darkness is really great, but it's just a little bit not as good. It's maybe if it had a few more creepy parts or was a little more horror-ish, maybe could bump it up a bit, but let's give it a solid 9 for now. And then the Evil Dead reboot, remake, whatever, I'll also give it a 9. I not saying that I necessarily like the same, but like I both I like them a lot, both for
I
different
get what you
reasons.
mean.
Yeah.
I get what you mean.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, both Tim and Kevin have frozen camera wise, which is a shame because I really wanted to see Kevin's reaction to the 9 out of 10 that you just gave Evil Dead 2013. All right, we're kind of back, although we've lost Tim's camera, but that's fine. Anyway, Kevin was saying, rather stupidly, whilst we weren't recording, something interesting. Kevin, why don't you say what you were saying was better than the Evil Dead reboot?
The 2003 Texas Chainsaw Massacre reboot / remake.
Yes, you can send your hate mail at momoguy123 on Twitter. Tell him how wrong he is. Thank you very much, and please. But as far as my ratings go, I would give Army of Darkness a I was about to say 3 for some reason. It's because I was thinking Evil Dead 3. 8 out of 10 for Army of Darkness. 8 out of 10 boomsticks. And then for the reboot, also 8 out of 10 boomsticks. So if you're keeping track, for me, that's 8, 8.5, 8, 8 is how I'd rate this series. So they're relatively consistent in the overall quality. And then the show is very good too. So
Oh, baby, I love the show.
I know the show, when the show's all said and done, it might end up even being my favourite of the whole thing.
I wouldn't argue with that.
There's something special about it having time to like because it's because essentially it's funny how for years, for like 15 years, they were talking about doing Evil Dead 4, and then it went away and the reboot happened, and then Ash vs Evil Dead is basically Evil Dead 4, but it's 5 hours long, which is great. And then we're getting that season 2, which is basically Evil Dead 5. So I'm cool with these chain of events. Kevin, have you watched any of the show yet?
Chainsaw of events.
No, and after watching the whole series, I think I owe it to myself too, because I'm a fan of the series. So
it is a blast. It is a blast and a half. 3 episodes so far have been great. I thoroughly recommend it. All right, so yeah, that'll wrap us up here. So I guess we'll do our round of plugs. Kevin, where can people find you on the interwebs?
you can find me on Letterboxd at MomoGuy123, on Twitter at MomoGuy123, and on the Mild Fuzz Facebook page.
Why don't you just say you can find me on Twitter and Letterboxd at MomoGuide123? It's the same thing.
I should.
It's more concise.
Yeah.
Just another example of you being wrong.
The only example.
no, a lot of examples. Timmy, where can people find you on the interwebs?
Any social media thing at Tim Vargulish. Check me out on other podcasts on the Mod Fuzz Network. I'm usually popping around on something else. And if you're interested in my comic book stuff, check out facebook.com/GoatmanComics. I should actually have an announcement about a new book very soon, probably within the next couple of months. So very excited about that. Definitely check it out.
Intriguing. I'm very intrigued. Anyway, you can find me on the interwebs, all social media places at Wibble89. You can also find me in other shows here in the network. On this same movies channel on YouTube, you can find the 1.21 Gigawatts Movies Podcast, of course. Also over on the Almost Cancelled TV channel, you can find me on the TV podcast Almost Cancelled, reviewing TV shows every week. And also over on the video games channel, 1080bit, you can find me on the video games podcast 1080bit. Nice and simple. Well, that wasn't simple at all. That sounded way more complex than it really is. But point is, you can find me in all those stuff. You can also find me, of course, on the audio versions of all those stuff and this stuff on iTunes, on Stitcher, and at the website mailedfuzz.org. And of course, you can follow Mailed Fuzz on Twitter at mailed_fuzz to send us tweets and stuff like that. You can also email us at mailedfuzz@gmail.com. You can do that if you want to suggest us movies that you want us to cover. We'll take suggestions, or even just ask us questions. You can do all that. Just put the show in the topic and tell us what you want to tell us. Tell Kevin how much of a fucking idiot he is. I mean, that's fine with me.
Tell Peter that the best horror remake of recent times is Rob Zombie's Halloween.
Oof.
An Irishman will be dying tonight. Alright guys, thank you very much for watching or listening. It's always a pleasure. Keep watching scary movies and we'll see you next time.